Good morning, my dear friends. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the 148th weekly webinar organized by AABN. Your presence here reiterates the fact that you're keen on spending time meaningfully even on the weekend. We truly appreciate that. As you're all aware, AABN has been engaging you with lively sessions with the objective of helping you hit the refresh button on emerging trends on a range of topics. Your encouragement and constant feedback on how to improve our webinars have only made our resolve and commitment to these ideals stronger. Today, we have Dr. Arpita Dutta as a guest speaker at Human Potential, Managing and Harnessing Talent for Tomorrow, an interactive business networking session. With the changing business environment, it has become pertinent to continuously evolve talent philosophies and strategies in order to develop a strong talent pipeline for tomorrow. Regardless of the industry or demographics, human capital, workforce planning, and development have become a topic of global concern. Talent availability and agility is critical for organizational sustainability. Talent management plays an important role in the strategic growth and development of a company, including talent acquisition, performance management, career development, competition, and more. Technology continues to evolve, fronting new business formats, fresh entrants, and radical disruption in the ecosystem. The young new age firms have scaled rapidly and generated an exponential demand for talent. That, along with the changed perspective of professional success, has caused a phenomenal churning of talent in the economy. Today, today employees find themselves at the crossroads to reinvent their hiring strategy. Our speaker today has had a distinguished career in corporation consulting. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Arpita Dutta, founder and director, ChemiSkills Learning Private Limited. The topic of today's webinar is Human Potential, Managing and Harnessing Talent for Tomorrow. The topic is of great importance to us in the context of today's shifting priorities. Our speaker has a great depth of knowledge and experience in the field. Before I hand over the floor to her, let me quickly run you through her achievements, a long list that has been cut short by me rather reluctantly to save time. Arpita is a passionate and creative individual with ingenious expertise in her field. She's a seasoned HR and L&OD professional with about 20 years of excellent track record in consulting, leadership development, organizational capabilities, culture transformation, talent engagement, performance management, and talent management practices. Her passion for skill development projects helped bring in transformational changes across multiple organizations she served. She's a talent engagement champion, facilitating people-centric and learning-centric programs with cross-cultural interactions and received recognition for her work. She is a certified ICF and IAP CCT executive coach, certified psychometric assessor, certified Dale Carnegie and MEPSC trainer, facilitator, mentor, enabler, and NLP practitioner, having trained 15,000 plus working professionals and students and coached several aspirants. She's a practicing coach, executive coaching, leadership coaching, organizational development coaching, life coaching, career development coaching, health and wellness coaching. She is the recipient of many recognitions: Mahatma Gandhi Samman Best Executive Coach Award, Iconic Woman Leader, Training, Learning and Development by Asia GCC, one of the top 10 most promising women leaders in soft skills industry, Asia Pacific HRM Congress Award, ISBR Best Women Employee of the Year Award, ISTD Exemplary Learning Professional Award, Promising MSME Award. She is the founder of CheriSkills Learning Private Limited, a boutique training and coaching company offering tailor-made learning products, solutions, and services. Arpita is passionate, positive, adaptable, creative, energetic, commended for planning, organizing, collaboration, analytical, coaching, and mentoring skills with an eye for detail. With a personality like Dr. Arpita Dutta, you can go on and on eulogizing. But let me stop here and let the audience have the privilege of listening to you, Dr. Arpita. Thank you, and over to you, Dr. Arpita.
Thank you so much for a wonderful briefing. And thank you, Madam, and thank you, sir, for the invite and for the opportunity. for inviting me also and sharing my 2 cents from the 2 decades of experience that I have. It's a long journey, but yes, over the years, learned a lot, and as and when needed, I'm contributing to the community and, of course, to the organizations as well. So thank you again for the opportunity, and the topic which we are going to delve into for the next 2 hours or so. It's 1.5 hours close to now. We will be discussing about how to manage and harness the human potential in organizations, because we are the greatest assets. They are the greatest assets in any organization. So how do we manage them? How do we engage them effectively? So let's dive into this discussion, and it's going to be an interactive session. I would not want it to be a monologue. As mentioned by Madam, so we will have a Q&A. Towards the end, we will have probably a 5 minutes comfort break, maybe around 11:45. 5 minutes comfort break, and then we'll again restart once we are back. So please allow me to share the screen now. Okay, so just a thumbs up if the screen is visible.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so let's understand this. What is talent engagement? So it's not a definition which I want, but what comes to your mind when you hear the term talent engagement or employee engagement? So maybe you can write on the chat window, or maybe you can unmute and share your thoughts. So what comes to your mind when you hear the term talent engagement? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? What is talent engagement? What comes to your mind when we talk about engagement?
Utilizing the human potential.
Right or wrong? So we are just discussing. Sorry? Yes, Venkat.
Utilizing the human potential to the extreme.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
Finding the right talent at the right place to do the right thing.
To have the right talent at the right place to do the right thing. Okay. All right. I'll welcome answers. So I won't say it's right or wrong.
It may be the strength of the mental and emotional connection.
The emotional connection and the mental connection.
Yeah, mental and emotional connection of an employee towards the employer at the place of work.
Wonderful. Okay, great. What else?
Engaging the employees in the young talent and with respect to organization goals and as well as the professional goals.
Okay. Engaging the employees towards organization goals as well as professional goals. The word engagement, it's still not going, So what do we understand by the engagement? How do we engage them?
Means to give
think about it.
Okay.
The role clarity should be clear.
Okay.
What to achieve the goal, the role clarity, and the employees has to be engaged, has to focus.
Okay. All right, great.
It's a commitment.
Shiva Kumar, is it? Okay. It's a commitment. Wonderful. Everybody is giving very good, thoughts. Wonderful.
Maybe it is the right thing to find ways to elevate the employee experience over time and enable them to thrive in an organization.
Very nice. Very nice. What else?
It is the art of the management
Okay.
to how to best utilize the talents of the employee.
Wonderful. All right. So there are different methodologies, there are different tools. Management must kind of, use during the journey of the employee to understand the potential and then utilize that potential in the right place. Somebody mentioned in the right place at the right time to get the right outcome. Right. So yes, of course, these are wonderful inputs. Okay, so let's see. Now, when most of you mentioned about engagement, so does this also mean that, keeping employees busy in their jobs is something which we are talking about when we refer to talent engagement?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Anybody says a yes? The connotation busy it can mean different things. You can make employees busy for something which is also not very productive, which is not at all related to business goals. So you can make employees busy in them as well, right? So keeping employees busy in their jobs, as Mr. Chandra said, it's not the objective. Okay, how about this? Motivating employees with monetary inputs or free flow snacks at the canteen to keep them engaged. Is it something we are looking at for talent engagement?
No.
Yes, no?
No.
No.
Wonderful. So it's also no here. We are not looking to motivate employees with monetary inputs because it's not sustainable. And we are definitely not looking for free flow of snacks at canteen to engage them. Is it going to yield any results in terms of the business outcomes? Today, they might be busy in the canteen. Tomorrow, they might just walk out. They might just leave. So this is again not an objective of talent engagement. How about this? Providing extra incentives to increase employee productivity. Are we looking at this for talent engagement?
No.
No.
No, because this is again short term. This is not long term, right? So if you have a long-term vision with short-term objectives, goals, hurdles to be crossed, challenges to be met, and then you kind of move on to achieve the bigger outcome. So extra incentives is short-term. This is definitely not a long-term objective of talent engagement. So if any of you had a yes for any of these questions, then it's the time that we change our perception about talent engagement. So let's see this video. I'm going to play a short video. So your task would be a short task. You have a pen and paper with you. If you don't have it, just quickly grab it. Have a pen and paper in front of you. Seeing the video, beginning to end, you write down certain points. What issues you observed, which should not have been done, which we could have avoided. Okay, so those points you have to quickly write down and share it once we stop the video. So let me just play the video. Are you able to see the video?
No.
No.
Okay, let me share this, unshare this, stop sharing the screen and share the screen. Okay, now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me play. I think the sound is also audible.
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't built our tools that way. We haven't built our tools to serve the team leader who's trying to build more teams like the best teams. Our tools have been built to serve the organization. Our performance management, our employee engagement, our 360 tools, our learning management tools, even our selection tools are built to serve the organization. They're not built to serve that person who's running that blue dot up there or that white dot all over the place at the top right. I'll give you one example. We could take any example, but I'll take one I know a fair bit about, employee engagement. Most employee engagement systems look like this. At the beginning of January, we take a file feed from the organization according to who reports to who boxes on an org chart. We lock that in, and then 6 weeks after that, we deploy our survey, whether it's 10 questions or 70 questions, we deploy our survey against the boxes on the org chart. 6 weeks after that, the data comes back, broken out by the boxes on the org chart, and the first person to get the data is not the manager, it's the HR function. We get the data, we clean the data, we scrub the data, we find the patterns in the data, and then we hand the data off, again, not to the manager, but to the CEO, where we scrub it and decide that we're going to put this in the town hall meeting or this in the newsletter. We're going to say that communication went up and recognition went down, and we do that, and then we give the data to one level below the CEO, and then finally, probably 3-4 months after the data was collected, the poor manager, whose data it is, gets the data, and the poor HR person is like, well, here's your data, and the manager looks at the data and goes, N equals 7, but I don't have 7 people on my team anymore, I have 10 people. Are the 7 people part of the 10 people, or is it entirely different 7? And the poor HR person is like, I don't know, just do your action plan, and we'll come back next year and we'll do it again. That's right? That's what employee engagement looks like, isn't it?
Okay, so what were a few takeaways from this particular video? Employee engagement gone wrong. So what happened in that video? What were the few takeaways?
The service taken not reciprocating on the time the results, what the service is saying.
Okay. So he started mentioning that, you know, the goal setting was there in the month of Jan. Then after 6 months, so there is a long gap there in which what is happening? There is no engagement. So after 6 months, again, you are going back to the review. Then he mentioned also about the time, 6 weeks. So what's 6 weeks again? You know, it's a long time. So the time is the important factor. How you are engaging your employees. Goal setting is done at the beginning of the year. After 6 months, you are sitting to review. And then the review is going to HR. Manager is not having anything, any reports. HR then takes it to the CEO. CEO then brings it to one level down. But the people who are seeing day in and day out, working day in and day out with the managers, with his employees, he is not getting the reports in hand on time. And by the time that he's getting the reports, probably some of his people have left or have got shuffled within the organization. So this is what happens in real time. So there's a big missing link throughout. So operationally, these are certain issues. Were you able to figure out these concerns in that short video clipping? Any other takeaways you have?
Coordination.
Absolutely. There was a missing link. No coordination. Anything else? The person using the employees is not consulted or allowed to take decision. Absolutely. He is getting at a fag end of some time. When people would have left, they would have gone to some other function. So he's not having any whereabout about his people, the people who are reporting to the manager. So there is a lot of missing link between top management, manager, HR, the entire process. So this is not employee engagement. Every moment counts. And therefore, we say that having men, material, machinery, money, and other resources to be available just to avoid any kind of these issues. Why coordination did not happen, or why there was a missing link? The only reason is that there are lack of resources. Time is a constraint. So if we have the man, machine, material and other resources in place, we would be able to mobilize them as required and take informed decisions. So missing links will be avoided. But this is a day in and day out story of any organization. So to say, if there are lack of resources. Thank you for your input. So let's move on. So what we are going to discuss in this 1.5 hours that we have is benefits of talent engagement, employee life cycle, barriers of talent engagement, creating a culture of engagement. Now it's a short time, but we will definitely highlight certain important aspects in all of these areas. It's very difficult to cover all of this in depth. It takes at least one day to cover each of these bullet points, but I will share some important insights and highlights. And anyway, we are going to have an interactive session, and it's a collective wisdom. You can add your points and observations of your experience journey in this discussion. Creating a culture of engagement, talent engagement strategies, technology and talent engagement, global talent engagement, measuring talent engagement, potential pitfalls, best practices. We are going to discuss about certain case studies and conclusion. All right, so we are going to highlight certain important aspects in each of these bullet points. Okay, now, to define talent engagement, the concept of employee engagement is sometimes confused with happiness. We sometimes think if employee is happy, employee is engaged. Not always. The other way around, it's possible. If employee is engaged, he is happy. So all happy employees are not engaged, but all engaged employees are actually happy. Okay, so the concept of employee engagement is sometimes confused with happiness, but it's really about an employee's psychological investment. Some of you rightly mentioned commitment, mental and psychological connection. That is what we have to aim at when we are talking about talent engagement. It is not incentives, it is not extra monetary benefits, it is not just keeping the employees busy. These are all short term. If you have an emotional connect of the employee with the organization in terms of the work he is doing, with the team, with the stakeholders he's associated with the business goals that he's working on, the employee will be happy, the employee will be engaged, the employee will give his full potential. So this is from an extract of Aon's global culture and engagement practice. The concept of employee engagement is sometimes confused with happiness, but it's really about employee psychological investment in the organization and motivation to produce extraordinary results. So again, to sum it up, we must understand talent engagement is all of this highlighted in red. Talent engagement refers to active involvement, intellectual commitment, okay? He puts his 100% in terms of productivity increase. So intellectual commitment and emotional connect towards their work, organization, and goals. So now talking about the benefits of employee engagement, there is some statistics which I'll share with you. This is from Gallup. So organizations with low employee engagement scores saw 18% lower productivity, 16% lower profitability, 37% lower job growth, and 65% lower share price over time. And see this is alarming. I mean, this is just so overwhelming. This is amazing. Companies with engaged employees outperform those without by 202%, not 100%, double, 202%. Employees who are engaged are 27% more likely to report excellent performance because engaged employees are happy and they're able to give their 100%, given they are provided with the resources to do work. So again, coming back to availability of resources can empower people to do more. Lack of resources can be, again, the bottlenecks or the hurdles to give full potential, right? So you can maximize potential by kind of utilizing the innate qualities, the attributes of the individual, the potential of the individual, plus providing him or her the resources, adequate resources, to make him deliver 100%. Teams with high employee engagement rates are 21% more productive and have 28% less internal theft than those with low engagement. So this is a study by Gallup. And let's see, benefits lead to higher employee productivity, increased innovation, increased creativity, increased job satisfaction, improved retention rates, positive work culture, and higher customer satisfaction, business outcomes. Of course, there would be achievement of business outcomes and employer brand achievement. Now, these are certain myths, So let me just pull it up for you. Sincere employees are engaged employees. Do you believe in this? Or do you want to recall certain moments where you see that you disagree or you agree with this? Can you recall certain incidents? Sincere employees are engaged employees. Do you believe in this? Is it always like this? Is it always like this? My next question is it always like this? Everywhere, every organization, sincere employees are always the engaged employees.
No.
You might want to recall. You might want to go back to your office and just find out who are the sincere people and are they all productive? So some of them are, not all of them are. Okay, and I'm sure that you will agree with this, that not all sincere employees are engaged employees. But yes, there are some who are really engaged. 50-50, no, mostly, not necessary, yes, partially, yes. Absolutely, absolutely. So not all sincere employees are engaged employees. Wonderful. So next, employee engagement requires a huge budget. Is it true? Does it require huge budget? It requires a budget. It may be done with a huge budget also, but is it always the requirement? No, yes. So Mr. Vishwanath has said no. See, if you just walk up to the desks and tell the people or appreciate the work that they have done. Now tell me, smile doesn't cost anything, right? Does it cost anything? A warm smile, or you walking up to the desk of the employee who has really done well, who's really contributed to the project, or a group of people who have really worked hard and created a success story. Just walking up to them, applauding in front of the others, sharing their success stories in the town hall. It doesn't require a huge cost. But of course, you can top it up later on by different modes and mediums, right? But it doesn't cost. You can always start with something, a thank you note on the places where, maximum footfall are there in the organization. So lots can be done, which does not require a huge cost. Okay, so let's break this myth. Employee engagement is solely HR's responsibility. So you saw the video, I played that video. So it goes to HR. The manager doesn't get it on time. The review reports doesn't get it on time. So it's not solely and wholly HR's responsibility. HR is just a facilitator of the entire process. HR is working with the business to ensure that business is able to reach its outcome. HR is facilitating every and all processes, working closely with the management, with the functional heads, with the managers of the team, right? So it is not solely and wholly HR's responsibility. Happy employees are engaged employees. No, not always. It is always true for the other way, engaged employees are happy employees and therefore they are high performers. Employee engagement is all theory. It is not all theory. It is doable. It is doable. We have to have strategies in place. When we talk about strategies today, when we talk about overcoming certain pitfalls, when we talk about certain case studies, we will see it is reality. It can be done. It is not theory. Okay, so now let's move on with the employee life cycle. Now we are all part of this process and we are facilitating our team members also to have a very seamless journey in this employee life cycle. All right, so the circles, what you see on the right hand side, every circle is important and it is unique. Every stage presents unique opportunities to engage employees and foster growth and satisfaction. How? It all starts with a job posting. It can be internal posting, it can be external posting. But before that, there is a groundwork which we do, right? Again, there's an engagement where HR will work. So some organizations will have a talent acquisition term. So I'm just broadly terming as HR. So HR will work closely with the business manager or the business head or the functional head to actually streamline the job description properly, because he's the person who is managing the project. He will be knowing first what the project needs in terms of all types of resources and which will yield results in the minimum time. Time is money. So when we are working on a project life cycle, time is a very important critical resource. So he or HR has to work. I won't say business head is coming to HR, but HR has to take the initiative and will approach the business or the function to actually outline nicely the current requirement. Something which is outlined 3 months back, it might be obsolete because the world is changing so fast and situations are so dynamic and volatile. We are in a world which is VUCA D world. We call it as VUCA-D. D stands for dynamic. So it's highly volatile, it's highly complex, it's highly uncertain, right? And it's highly dynamic and it's ambiguous. So to be sustainable, okay, we need to be on the feet, trying to see what we are missing on and what our competitors, analyzing the competitors and doing a market research over there is so much critical. So you see the level of engagement with the business, with the support staff, it's so very necessary at the very beginning itself. And then how do you attract your potential employees? You should not be missing out on the best of the talent in the market. Also, you have a competition in the market, right? So how do you innovate? How do you become more creative? How do you think differently out of the box, to kind of mold your marketing strategy as well as write a perfect, I wouldn't say perfect, excellent job description, because it's always a space for improvement. So write that job description which will actually catch the eye and then post it wherever, internal, external. And you must have the policies in place if it's an internal one, right? So a lot of engagement is required between different micro level, functional people, right? To ensure that, we are not missing out on certain important aspects. So attraction, and then comes the recruitment again. So each of the stages is so vast. Recruitment is a huge function. Onboarding is a major responsibility, because, when you talk about the 30, 60, 90, I can go on and on and on with one slide itself, but, I have to take care of the time. So during this 30, 60, and 90, what happens during the first month? There are a lot of times people join. They don't like the onboarding, trainings, the engagement, the orientation. Yeah. So they are coming from, say, the top tier organization, and you have onboarded a top talent. The talent has also got attracted because of the marketing, positioning or branding of your organization. But once inside the organization, he has stepped in, he's not getting that spike. The sparks are not there, right? So if the sparks are not there, he's missing on what he was actually getting, right? So we have to have a different strategy for each of these people. Or you might be having a top talent from just a small startup who has not experienced this, but he is now enjoying the entire process. So that also is a possibility. So you might factor in all of these aspects, seeing the reference data that you have in hand, and then strategize accordingly. So onboarding is a very important step. It's a very important stage as well, where you need to hold the employee. Okay. And then comes the development phase, the retention, the separation, exit, and also having close connect with the alumni, right? So this is a complete employee life cycle. Now let's see why it's important, that we have to have an engagement strategy at each level, at each stage. Engaged employees are more likely to succeed and less likely to leave. They feel valued. They contribute positively to organization's success, and reduces the turnover cost. It's a huge cost. Imagine you have hired through some consultant and the person leaves after 45 days. You might have certain binding clauses and all that, but given that you sometimes don't have clauses because he's crossed that timeline. Sorry, any questions here? Okay, I think it's just a mistake. So, okay.
I just have one question.
Yes,
I put it on the chat box.
Okay.
After separation, where is attraction?
Why is it cyclic? Okay. Does attraction happen after separation? Okay. Yes, it happens. There are a lot of times you will have people who have left. They, after a gap of 3 years, 5 years, they join back. So you have a different plan altogether for onboarding such employees. There are lots of cases like that. Now, it all depends on how the experience was of that employee during this tenure that he has spent with you previously. All right. And how, you are engaging with the employee, with the, the alumni network and so on and so forth. So it happens. It does happen. So you must have a different plan and strategy for that. All right. Any other questions? Okay. So if there are no more questions, I'll move forward. I'm happy to address any questions. All right. So let's see certain barriers to talent engagement. Some of the common barriers. Poor communication. You saw this video which I played, right? There's a communication gap. Poor communication, lack of recognition, or no recognition, inadequate recognition. It doesn't make any sense. I was talking to one of my senior colleagues of my previous organization. Now, he's not mentioning of his own organization, but he's just heard it from another friend of his. So what he mentioned was giving a recognition of ₹100 as a gift voucher. Now, it's better not to give anything. So it should not be a talk of the town, that, I received a recognition which is of 100 rupees gift voucher. So the recognition should be of certain quantity, which is impressive enough, right? So it's equivalent to lack of recognition. Or if you don't want to give any monetary benefits, try to be very, very innovative on what other methods or what other, recognition rewards you can design. So there must be a design team in place. We used to have, I worked for Schneider Electric Software. I worked for Freescale Semiconductor. Just to name a few of my, organizations, global organizations that I served, I worked for Atos Origin. All of these places, we used to have design team. So you must, again, coming back to that, availability of resources, you would be able to justify your time in the thinking process, designing process, rolling it out process. Okay, so lack of inadequate recognition can be a faux pas. Inadequate development opportunities. All right, so if employee is always looking externally for developing himself or herself, and there is no development, activities happening internally, that's again a mistake, a barrier. All right, and then neglecting the work-life balance. So I missed on one point, important point, limited career growth opportunities. Right, so you don't have, I remember, as I speak, I remember, one of the employees who came, actually, I was working for a startup as well, and we were actually in the process. What happens in a startup, they are more focused on the products, on the product prototyping, rolling it out in the market. So they're very much focused on the product. They're not much focused about the recognitions, the processes and policies in places and all. They don't have a career growth as of now planned. So they don't have all these things well organized and well structured. So what happens is when a person, highly talented person, is coming from a big organization to a startup, they would want to see what is their future. I mean, apart from contributing as a techno evangelist in the organization, they also want to see what is there for him, or what is it for me, right? WIIFM. So what is it in it for me 3 years down the line? 3 years nowadays is a long time, I would say. 1 year down the line, 2 years down. So what is my growth path, right? So everybody would want to know that. So it's very important to have career growth opportunities outlined, and then, having succession planning in place, for the right people and for the right job, seeing the potential, seeing the credibilities, right? We call it as ethos, lathos, and pathos, right? So all of that comes into picture. So that is also very important. Career growth opportunities, neglecting work-life imbalance. Okay, so we are not, neglecting work-life balance. Okay, so we should be also giving huge importance to employee wellness. Okay, we are not just focused on business goals. So it's not just, management by objective, we call it as, right? MBO. It's not just that. We're not just looking at, have you achieved? Have you achieved? Have you achieved every now and then? But also ask how you were not able to achieve, and be an empathetic leader as well over there, right? So if you see the G20, if I just, bring in a very recent event, G20 is all about empathy. Of course, there are a lot of important decisions being made, but if you see the complete construct, it's all about one world, one family, thinking about others, giving others opportunity. So that's how we brought in the African Union, giving others opportunity, right, to step up. It's all about empathy. So empathetic leadership, it's not just about what, it's also about how you could not, and if I can help over there, if we can help over there, right? So neglecting work-life balance. These challenges actually hinder the employee satisfaction. Okay, and what are the solutions? The obvious solutions are improve the communication channels, implement employee recognition programs, provide career development opportunities, promote work-life balance, and so on and so forth, right? So Most importantly, since it's a top-down approach, culture is a top-down approach. Okay, building an inclusive culture, building a culture of engagement, building a culture of continuous learning, building a culture of high performance, right? It's all a top-down approach, cascaded from the top management and to different layers and down under, right? So every employee, even at the bottom line, is critical and important, right? So it's a percolation approach from the top to the bottom line. So creating a culture of engagement builds positive work culture, right? And of course, we need to take care of the reward programs, recognitions, well-being programs, and so on. So now talking about that empathy. Empathy is so important in leadership, okay? There is a very popular say, we call it as the golden rule and platinum rule, okay? Golden rule and platinum rule of management and leadership, okay? So when you are having a one-on-one or when you are having a one-to-many, what is most important? I have mentioned two things here. Treat others like the way you want to be treated. So this is the golden rule. Now the platinum rule actually overpowers the golden rule. Treat others like the way they want to be treated. It's so powerful. Okay, so treat others like the way you want to be treated. Now, you may not want to be treated grand, but see the second line, treat others like the way they want to be treated. So everybody wants to be treated well. Everybody wants to be treated great and grand, right? So they take away that as a life experience, a lifetime experience. So treat others like the way they want to be treated. So that's how the one-on-one, the empathy building, the culture with a human element. Technology is now ruling the world. We have the advent of IoT, machine learning, the drones, the AIs, we have the chatbots, we have everything. Okay, but the human element should not be missing. So it should not be the other way around. The technology is ruling the human, but it should be human ruling the technology. So we should be knowing where to aptly apply the technology, right? So the human element should not be missing out in this entire journey of the modernization or the globalization or the technology advanced nation or company, right? So all of that. So treat others like the way they want to be treated, a very much human element. And very recently, I actually, liked this. I was going through one TEDx video, and there was a mention of friendship. Friendship. I like this term, friendship, which is an amalgamation of friendship, mentorship, and leadership. So when we're talking about mental and psychological connect, when we're talking about emotional connect, when we are talking about intellectual commitment, when we are talking about full involvement towards work, team, goals, objectives, right, of the employee. These three things, if we have a combination in our leadership approach, friendship, mentorship, and leadership, people, I think it will definitely do a lot of change, as part of the culture change that we are talking about within the organization. Okay, so friendship, mentorship, as well as leadership. So when I say mentorship, of course, we must have, again, certain processes in place of a mentor, mentee. It can be formal, informal. So how do you want to have a buddy process being rolled out? So a lot of things can be designed again. It can be again, we can be again creative. Again, if you have resources will actually invest time in thinking in designing, redesigning, doing some research and coming up with the most innovative ones, the policies and the processes. So mentorship or a coaching on a regular basis. So every manager must be a coach, must be a mentor, right? Every manager must be that role model the employees would want to look up to. We are talking about the leadership, the authentic leadership, the walk the talk leadership, the empathetic leadership, and also that human element where treat others like the way they want to be treated. That friendship aspect. It's not just always what. It's also about how you could not achieve and if I can help you in the process. So that's the amalgamation of friendship, mentorship, and leadership. Friendship, if we practice this as part of employee engagement culture within the organization, I think each manager, if he or she practices it, I think, eventually over a period of 2 months, 3 months, you will see it's infectious. It's infectious. If it is rightly practiced, it can change the paradigm. So I'm going to share certain strategies about how you can bring, we're talking about talent. Now, employees are anyway part of the organization, but who are the talents? Talents are the people who have the potential, you're able to utilize their potential, they are also contributing effectively, they are the high flyers in the organization. So we should not want to miss them. We should not want to want them to leave the organization. It's okay if employees are leaving the organization, but we do not want the top talents or the talents to leave the organization. Then it's a problem for the organization. All right. So I remember, when I was working as a HR manager way back in 2010, I think it was actually, it was not Schneider Electric. I was part of 5 mergers and acquisitions in my 20 years, right? In the second merger and acquisition, it was actually the company, which is Skelta, which is a business process management company taken over by Invensys, taken over by Schneider Electric Software. So I was part of this entire due diligence and the transition and all that. So I was part of 5 mergers and acquisitions in this journey. So I asked my manager, I was then working as the HR manager and was responsible for Bangalore office, Hyderabad office, Chennai office. I asked him, sir, people are leaving. I mean, we have an attrition of 15%, 15% this month. So what he told me, don't worry. If talents are leaving, then it's a worry. Find out who are leaving. So if you find out any important talent is leaving, then we should do a turnaround strategy. So, I mean, that was a bulb, even though, I was worried, we're having an attrition of 15%. Okay, that was a bulb moment for me. And then, it stayed so strong even today that if your talents are living, then, there's something wrong. We immediately should have a call for a meeting and see, what we can do about it. All right. So now how to bring up certain employees to that level when we call them as talents or super talents, right? So this is called a 9-box. This is called 9-box grid. And 9-box grids are so very popular and practiced in many organizations. I'm sure many of you here must have heard about it, must be practicing it as a consultant, as a coach, as a mentor. So we spoke about friendship. If you're not using it, I think it's high time as a leadership. We're talking about the friendship, right? So leadership, mentorship journey, please start using this. Identify who are your underperformers. You have less performance. The graph is self-explanatory, but I'll quickly go through it. So low on performance, low on potential. Identify them quickly. Identify them quickly. Also, you must identify the top right here quickly. Which is this. This you should be having all the names always at your fingertips. And this also, you should be having their names at your fingertips. Okay, so people, you have to decide whether you want to invest. Can I request, if you are not speaking, to mute the phone, please? Thank you so much. Okay, so this is a journey. I mean, we're talking about employee life cycle in the organization. Not everybody is a star from the very beginning, but have the potential so that you can bring them up. So the willingness, we call that as a skill will matrix as well. So the willingness also should be there from the employee side, and you put also your effort, and the employee also puts the effort. So there's a balance. And then you have the journey on, the roadmap designed, right? So underperformer, let's quickly find out whether it's worth investing your time, money, other resources, okay? And then you have this processes of, we call it as the, what is it? The monthly review process. I'm not getting the name right now. And also there is a duration of 2 months that you give, right? Where you expect the person to come back to the desired performance level, right? So we have these processes being rolled out sometimes, right? So you can identify which those employees are, and you can have a 1-month tenure to bring up that employee to a certain level, or so it's called the PIP and the PDP. I just got it now. So performance improvement plan and performance development plan. So development is a journey, and therefore you have 60 days time frame generally with organizations, and improvement is a quick. So you give certain important tasks and support them and see how they are improving. So therefore the tenure is generally 30 days. So PIPs and PDPs you might want to roll out at different stages to support the employees, to see if they are interested, to see how they are performing, give them time, do the review, not review end of the 1 month, or not a review end of the 2 months. Again, remember that that video where every time is important, every week, every day, you must spend to see how much they are improving. So you can bring up to the level. So underperformer to a stage where, you know that the person is having high potential, still not performing. So do you want to coach them? Or you might find out certain people. So, you have to kind of, you have probably 100 people reporting to you, or you have 50 people reporting to you, right? Even if you have 1,000 people reporting to you who are not your direct reports, there is a pyramid structure. So you will have line managers, and you will get the information from your line managers. You need not know all 1,000 people, but it's good to know, but it's not possible to know sometimes 10,000 people, 1,000, 5,000 people who are reporting to you in your vertical. So you have line managers and you get information from them, updates, reviews, and all that stuff, right? But if you have a very small count of people you are managing, very good. So you know them, know each and every details of their, maybe the personal life, also their professional life, that's the emotional connect I'm talking about, not just about what's. Okay, so now you know their strength areas, to find out what are their core strengths, find out where they need help, what their areas of development are. Do Johari window. Johari window concept is a very popular concept, where people get to know about themselves, okay, from different sources. Okay, so that actually helps them to find out their own strengths and their own areas of development. You as a manager also will want to have a strengths kept, strengths, you can go through that tool to find out every employee's strength and areas of development, top 5 strengths and areas of development, and capitalize on your team's strengths, right? And work on the areas of improvement. Because working on the strengths is more critical, because time again is money. You're sitting on a project which needs to be delivered yesterday, as on yesterday, right? So time is important. So sometimes you might, kind of go back and see, basis on their strength, this is not the work that they should be doing. and then you can kind of, position them in the right work. So one of you mentioned about identifying the talent and then placing them at the right place at the right time in the right project. So that's the enigma phase. That is the enigma phase. You need to really look into that, where you are seeing whether I'm putting the person in the right job, because he is great in speaking, and I have put him in a back-end role, and therefore he's not enjoying and he's not delivering his 100%. He's more of an interface guy. So why not give him some training in sales or pre-sales and talk about it with him, whether he likes that, and then you bring him up to that to a particular speed to perform that role, right? If he's a good instant connect guy, then I think it's worth experimenting him with that role, right? So he will put more stake into that role. He will have more skin into the game for that particular role, right? So it is this enigma phase where maybe in a wrong job or a wrong manager and needs certain interventions. So this is a very important 9-box grid where you actually take informed decisions based on the strengths and weaknesses of your team members, knowing them well. And likewise, a person who is, you want to move them from an underperformer to a level which is an effective level, engage them more, give more focus to them, motivate them. So find out different strategies. Core employee, motivate, engage, reward them, right? So they are midpoint somewhere. Okay, mid performance, mid potential, but there's a high possibility that you can move them from core employee to growth employee or high impact employee, and they move to future leader, or from growth employee to the future leader. All right, so these are the interventions we have given examples that, from a growth employee, okay, how can you move them to a future leader? Give them more challenges. So they work in a zone which is not a comfort zone. They want more challenges. So they don't like to operate in a comfort zone, right? So they give them more challenges, give them more rewards, recognize them, develop them. Likewise, a high impact performer, okay, they're actually the strong contributors. Give them more challenges, reward them, grow them, motivate them, and they become the future leaders who are the star performers in the organization, the high flyers, okay, the top talent. Give them high rewards, give them high recognition, promote them, do have a succession planning in place, develop them. So a lot of organizations, they, for example, Tata, they have this homegrown policy. So you will find a lot of employees who have joined 20 years and they have risen to this level. They joined as a fresher and they have grown because of the different variations they have got in their life journey. Life journey in the sense, employee life cycle. Okay, and they have moved up to occupy certain respectable positions in the organization. So this is a culture that we can build, and you see there is so much of engagement required at every stage here as well. So do we want a comfort break or we will continue? If we want a comfort break, we can take a 5 minutes break and come back. Else we can continue. 11:45.
We can continue. We can continue.
We can continue. Okay, I'll go with the majority. Others are silent. So whoever I heard, I'm going with that.
Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. So these are certain talent strategies that I, from my experience, have outlined. So let's see, how we can overcome certain pitfalls and barriers, having effective communication strategy between leadership and employees. Open door policies, one example. Having regular town hall meetings, another example, where executives share company updates, success stories, encourage employees to ask questions or provide feedback. So we can have all these events as often. Again, depends on the company policy, the size of the organization, the complexity, and so on. How often you want to have these programs. Regular town hall meetings, generally quarterly you can have. And when I'm talking about the open door policy, it is every day, so every day you can keep the doors open. Sometimes, a lot of times we sit in cabins and our doors are closed. So why? So we always used to have this initial discussions, and therefore we decided on to have an open door policy where as soon as the management members used to get inside the cabin, just keep the door open. So you welcome people to come unless you're having certain critical discussions or meetings or confidential discussions. Otherwise, leaving the door open. Anybody should be able to walk in and discuss. Okay. And of course, apart from this, you have a communication channel. You have an omni-channel communication wherever it's required. You must have a communication team in place so that they're able to strategize, they're able to roll out important messages as and when required. This communication is very important, very, very important. And more so during the COVID times, we have seen that, the communication became multifold. The importance of communication became multifold because nobody was meeting anybody. And it was only through the digital medium that there was the connect. And there was so much of necessity of the overall mental and emotional well-being at that point of time. So communication, whether it's pandemic, whether it's not pandemic, it is an important connect between leaders and employees. Next, I would highlight is the career development opportunities. So I have given certain examples how you can strategize that. You can have skill development workshops, trainings. Some may be just, certain company-related, compliance-related trainings. Some can be organization-level training. Some can be team building activities or having cohesive team. So some team-level programs. Some can be, you can form a matrix to have certain, employee-level programs being covered. So trainings, it can be one-off trainings one day. It can be 5 days journey. It could be a leadership journey as well of 3 months, 1 year. Right? So there are different roadmaps and strategies. In order that we have a successful career development happening in the organization. People are feeling it, they are part of it, and they enjoy it, and they are growing also at the same time. So skill development workshops, it can be internal, it can be external, you can nominate them also, some external conferences or certain external programs and courses. That is also a huge possibility. Skill development workshops, training, coaching, as I said already, that every manager should be a coach. Every manager should be a mentor. So again, please remember, I think this term, which is called friendtorship. Okay, it's an amalgamation of leadership, mentorship, friendship. So mentoring should be everybody's role, even though it's not there in the job description. So, we generally don't specify it in the job description that you will be the mentor or you will be the coach. It's not generally mentioned in the job descriptions, but without any doubts, coaching should be part and parcel of anybody's job description who is managing a team, whether it's a one person or whether it's a group of people. Clear career paths. If it's not there, it is very important to outline it sitting with the manager. As a HR, I'm saying HR should take the initiative of sitting with the manager, talking out the growth path of any individual, right? And promoting them whenever possible. So I'm talking again about the succession planning, about the homegrown approach that you can have. All right, it's always also welcome. It's good to welcome fresh talents from outside. Sometimes it's good to have fresh ideologies, fresh talents. So homegrown wherever possible. Otherwise, welcoming fresh talents is always a plus point as well. Creates a sense of purpose and engagement. So let's see also what is the third point. Employee well-being support. Flexible work schedules we can provide. Remote hybrid work options we can provide. We can have wellness programs within the organization. We can have paid time offs. Financial assistance to employees facing unexpected hardships like illness, natural disasters, and so on and so forth. We also used to have something called the Employee Assistance Program, EAP. Anything and everything can be asked to an external counselor, certified counselor, NGOs. So you can devise different, again, having resources, you can spend time, you can beautifully design strategies, and you can roll it out. Okay, so employee well-being support is so very critical. Then comes the employee. It's not in particular order, but all of these are very important. Employee recognition programs. Launch Employee of the Month. We used to have Employee of the Month. We used to have Spot Awards. We used to have above and over above. So very attractive terms we used to term these awards, you know. So again, if you have a reward, team in place, then they can come up with this very wacky, very innovative names. Okay. And then you should have criteria under all of these awards category, right? So criteria for getting this award, and also, discuss with the management about what should be the quantum of the award. As I said, lack of award, inadequate recognition, 100 rupees gift voucher is not it's not a, respectable, I would use the word respectable quantum of the award, right? So launch Employee of the Month program, Spot Awards, above and beyond award, and so on. You can name them, very attractive names you can give, and then fix a criteria and roll it out. Formal, informal recognitions, appreciations go a long way. Flexible work and arrangements. Let employees choose their work hours within a defined range, which will not affect the project work, which will not affect meetings, which will not affect the overall team in and out within the organization, right? So let's collectively decide or choose working hours within defined range, or offered remote work options, especially during the tough times. And I mean, at least 15 are there. I have just quickly kind of downloaded all my experience, thoughts, and all, and put it down in the deck. So wellness initiatives, again, you can have yoga, meditation classes. You can provide gym facilities, memberships. I mean, these are different options. Definitely depends on your company's policy. Not all fits, at every place, right? We have to customize it as per the requirement. Or offer mental health counseling services. Feedback and performance reviews. Time is important again. Not waiting for 6 months, not waiting for 1 month. Okay, so every week there should be a touch point. If required, if important aspects, every day there should be touch points. If it's a kind of, a crisis project, every day there should be a touch point. All right. So feedback and performance reviews. Conduct quarterly. This is a formal one, I'm saying, but informally, we must have multiple touch points. And encourage two-way feedback discussions between managers and employees. Now, the caution here is, when I say multiple touch points, it does not mean I'm talking about micromanagement. So micromanagement it's something nobody likes. You also being managed by somebody, micro level, you don't like. Likewise, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, you're also doing micromanagement for your team. Nobody likes. So we must have a plan and strategy. Okay. So multiple touch points, how you want to do that. That's again a beautiful game. So plan it and execute it well, so that it doesn't make anybody feel that, I'm always in the spotlight. I'm always in the limelight. Okay. But yes, putting putting people sometimes in the spotlight and limelight is also important. But again, we have to take a decision when and for what. Okay, that's again, a good decision that we have to take over there. Next comes the employee engagement surveys. So we can have pulse survey. Google does it very often. Pulse survey to check the pulse. Generally, how people are feeling within the organization. Pulse survey we can do. Administer annual engagement survey, analyze results, create action plans. So generally what happens, surveys are done, inputs have come, and then no actions being taken. What happens then? Employees no, oh, it's just a tick mark. Nothing is going to happen. So what happens? Trust. There occurs a deficit of trust eventually. Okay, so taking action after involving them in the survey will ensure trust building. So people have collected, means that, people have management has collected information. Now they are working on it. And there would be certain employees who would also be championing certain initiatives that will come out as an action plan. So if you involve them, you get a more buy-in. Likewise, if you involve them in policy making, you get a more buy-in from the employees, right? So action plans is very important. We should not just collect the inputs. We should strategize. We should chalk out certain plans, involve people, ask them to champion certain roles and responsibilities over and above their actual roles, and then allow them to roll it out. You will see there is so much of involvement. There will be so much of involvement. We're talking about engagement. All right. Employee resource groups. Establish ERGs for LGBTQ employees, working parents, veterans, organize regular meetings, events, right? So we can have ERGs for different reasons, So this is one. You can also have employee resource group for any crisis. We call it as emergency response groups, right? We call it as emergency ERG again, okay? But it's for any crisis situation that they will address. So this is again for a different purpose. That is again for a different purpose. So you can have different purposes, different groups. Social responsibility. You can again have a group for this. Okay, so you're involving the people so that, they feel engaged, they feel valued. So anyway, CSR is definitely a part of any and every organization. It is mandatory. Okay, and how it is calculated, like, the last 3 or 4 years profit, you average it out and 2% of that you take it, okay, for your CSR budget. And then you judiciously see where all you can invest as part of social responsibility initiatives. Engage the people who actually like it. It's not you are assigning this to people, but people coming forward because they actually like this job. Okay, and then put them into this group and help them drive it. You provide them support. All right. Then skill-based training and development. Give access to online courses. You have so many online courses available. LinkedIn, you have Coursera, you have free courses. Swam is there. You have free courses, you have paid courses. You can integrate certain on your LMS platforms, right? You can have a sandbox model of your LMS. In fact, our organization is also having a sandbox LMS model where we actually integrate all sources of learning onto that platform and personalize those learnings and push it to the employees as required. So that also you can do, personalize the learning journey for employees. All right, and then employee involvement in decision-making. As I mentioned, if you are revisiting your policies, if you are changing certain processes, you will get more buy-in if you involve employees in the decision-making process. So employee involvement in decision-making plays a critical role in employee engagement. Diversity and inclusion. Every organization, this is on the top of the agenda, diversity and inclusion. Okay. So organize a company-wide volunteer day to support a local charity or environmental cleanup. So this is just one example. There could be different ways that we can drive the diversity and inclusion, right? Another example could be, if I quickly recall, there was a recruitment meeting wherein, we just pull down the demographics of the women and the men in the organization. And it happened that, it was only, I think, at one point of time, it was only 30% of women folks in the organization, if you consider the entire India employee strength, and we had 70% men. So at some point of time, we wanted to equate that ratio. So that's again diversity and inclusion. So there could be different aspects in diversity and inclusion. Okay, also you can think of having not so privileged or physically challenged people. You can induct them in back-end operations. Exceptionally, they do well. Okay, so huge contributions to the society as well as they contributing very effectively. I mean, if you see, we have been mentioning about certain myths. I will like to recall also a lot of such aspects wherein we have seen that serious folks, who are, physically challenged, but they were put in the back-end marketing operations and they were doing exceptionally well job. Okay, so these are certain examples. We can have different diversity inclusion initiatives, and these are all part of employee engagement. Then we have continuous learning and development budgets. We can allocate budgets for this. All right. We can also have team building and social activities. So these are certain initiatives which I actually, wanted to share with you. And there are actually many more we would see as we come across the case studies. Now you will be overwhelmed to see, the different communication channels we can actually have or utilize, or we can use for communication purposes. There are at least 25 channels which are existing today. At least 25. Okay, I'll share that as well. Then you see, automation of certain processes we can do for better productivity, for better experience as well, better employee experience. Enabling the continuous feedback process, formal, informal, performance management tools, having all these collaboration platforms. I've given some examples like Zoho projects, Notion, Asana, Monday.com project management software. So we can have many of this. So these are actually enablers. It helps us to work easily. At the same time, we have to know how to apply them. We have to understand how to use each of these technologies effectively so that we can maximize our output, our employees' output. So that's the collaboration of technology and engagement. So there are many communication tools. I'll skip this unless you need them. So there are plenty of this. If I just populate, oh my God, it will be like, it's a glossary. This is what I had to share when I say about 25 minimum different communication channels. You can quickly glance through them and see whether you are using them at all, or you would want to get an approval of a budget for inducting some of this. Or if you are not using, I'm sure email everybody uses. I'm sure, instant messaging everybody uses, but many of us are not still using the VRMR AR. So what magic it can do in the learning and development and employee performance. So a lot of this, if we, kind of want to know, we can actually explore different use cases are there and think about deploying them at our own offices. All right, so coming to the global talent engagement. These are the challenges that we are aware of. The language barriers are there, cultural differences are there, time zones is an issue, diverse work practices are there. So these are the challenges, but still, let's find out certain opportunities within these challenges. We can have cross-cultural collaboration, multiple cultures working together. It's just a beauty. India is a truly global example of so many cultures, so many languages coming together, right? So going outside of India, I think it's a cakewalk for us, Indians. I mean, it should be a cakewalk for us to work with other cultures, because we ourselves are working in the domestic paradigm, so many cultures all around us. Cultural awareness, sensitivity, inclusivity. So we get to know more about other cultures outside India. So cultural awareness, it's a good learning. Cultural sensitivity, inclusivity. We're talking about diversity and inclusion. Understanding the cultural nuances and adapting to different contexts. It also fosters innovation, different ideologies, different perspectives, different experiences, different thoughts, different experimentation, application experiences. Brings diverse perspectives. And last but not the least, before we get into the case study, these are the different matrices that will tell us how our engagements is within the organization. Your employee satisfaction surveys will speak, regular feedback channels will speak, retention rates will speak, high, low, it will speak whether our engagements are going good or it's not going good, what we need to change. Productivity levels, absenteeism, performance evaluations, participation in T&D programs. So all these are the key matrices by which we know how we are engaging our employees, how we are managing our employees. Is it being done right? What we need to change, what we need to pause. It's like a traffic signal. If it's like a traffic signal, red, green, yellow. So what we need to stop, what we need to pause, what we need to continue. What is doing well, we need to continue. So it's like traffic signal strategy, right? So I was thinking of having a breakout room, but I think, it's less time. Nevertheless, we will quickly get into some of the case studies, which I have brought in. Also, I will share a book. This is the book which is having other case studies also from Mahindra and Mahindra, Infosys, Emphasis, Axis Bank, Landmark Group. Today, I'm going to share from Salesforce, from Marriott, and from Google. So, Google has, as I already mentioned, Pulse survey. They already do that, and it works wonders for them. In addition, open and inclusive culture in Google. So Google fosters an open and inclusive culture where employees are encouraged to express themselves. They have Googlers group and ERGs dedicated to various communities, promoting diversity and inclusion. The second one, work-life balance. Google provides various benefits to support work-life balance, such as flexible work hours, remote work options. Employees have access to on-site gyms, wellness programs, healthcare services. Innovation time off. Google allows employees to dedicate 20% of their working hours to pursue their passion projects. This initiative has led to development of various innovative products like Gmail, Google News, and so on. Many organizations, they call it also as Codathons. Learning and development. Google offers extensive learning development opportunities through Google University. Employees have access to a wide range of courses and training programs to enhance their skills. What is the outcome? Google's talent and engagement strategies have led to several positive outcomes like this. High employee satisfaction, retention rates, consistent innovation, creation of new products, reputation as one of the most desirable employers globally, diverse and inclusive workforce that reflects the communities they serve. So this is one case study. One more case study is about the Marriott International's Employee Recognition Program, Spirit to Serve culture. Marriott has a Spirit to Serve culture that emphasizes putting employees first. They believe that engaged employees will naturally extend that engagement to guests as well. Of course, Tata is also, Taj Hotels is a classic example as well. Employee of the Month program. Marriott runs an Employee of the Month program that recognizes outstanding performance. Winners receive cash awards, certificates, public recognition, and so on. My Marriott Hotel game. Marriott developed a virtual game called My Marriott Hotel to engage employees. It helps employees understand different aspects of business and promotes cross-training. Bonvoy program. It's a loyalty program for both guests and employees. Employees can earn points for recognition and rewards, including free stays at Marriott hotels. So what is the outcome? High levels of employee satisfaction, loyalty, leading to better guest experiences, increased motivation, productivity, enhanced brand reputation, culture of continuous learning and development. Last but not the least, Salesforce. So we have the chairperson, Mrs. Arundhati Bhattacharya. Now, so Salesforce, Ahona culture, family culture within the organization. So 1-1-1 model. Salesforce dedicates 1% of its equity, 1% of its product, 1% of its employees' times to philanthropic activities. Employees are actively encouraged and supported in their volunteer and charitable efforts. They have ERGs. They have wellness programs. And Ahona groups are small peer groups of employees who meet regularly to provide support, mentorship, and friendship. So they are actively going with the friendship. These groups help build a sense of community within the organization. And what is outcome? Remarkable outcomes are high levels of employee engagement satisfaction, strong sense of belonging among employees, contributing to the overall well-being, recognition as one of the best places to work globally, and a positive impact on communities served through philanthropic efforts. So these are some examples. I would like to, Zapos is also there, and I would like to share this book link with you. After this session gets over, you will receive it, and open to question and answer. So it's just 10 minutes left. So I'm open.
What a nice session. What a lovely session, Arpita. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
It's an intense session.
Thank you.
Okay. Gopi?
Yeah.
Can I go
please
ahead?
Go on. Yeah, please go on. Please go on.
Ma'am, I'm Vishwanath. I have a handicap when asking this question to you because I've never been employed. I'm actually unemployable. So I am an entrepreneur. And my question is very simple. While industries encourage, and you have told so many strategies for motivating employees and things like that, why industries don't encourage entrepreneurship of their employees? Is it because I'll tell you the thing, today with longevity, 30 years of job, you have to put in another 30 years of retirement, number one. You cannot leave a legacy. Somebody raises to the rank of vice president or even higher, cannot, give a succession to his future generations. So keeping all this in mind, I find very, very few, I haven't come across big companies encouraging entrepreneurship. Is it because they feel threatened that these guys who know the inside story will become their own competitors? What is the secret? I feel it's like a shepherd raising sheep so that one fine day he can slaughter. So you raise a guy till he's 60, 65 and then sack him, give him retirement. Isn't it unfair?
Okay, so there are 3-4 parts to this question, sir. So I'll address all of that with some examples from my experience. All right, so maybe I'll go reverse. So you mentioned about 65 years and then, showing the path of retirement and what do they do after that? Experience, nothing can replace experience. We all know this and we strongly believe this. But, we call it as reverse mentorship. We call it as reverse coaching. Many organizations, if I consider Schneider Electric also as one of the examples, we advocated reverse mentoring. We advocated reverse coaching. Now, what does that mean? So it's not demeaning the experience. So there are certain plus points which the millennials and the centennials they have. So why not create a mixed work culture wherein you take the positives of the experienced people? They have done it all. They know, what is failure. They know what is success. And also you take the centennials, who are more risk prone. They take risks. They have less patience. That's true. But, they have a lot of innovative ideas also, which they can kind of, share and then do a lot of wonders. So when we're talking about entrepreneurship, who are the youngest entrepreneurs we have seen? People who have made success stories at the age of 24, at the age of, below the age of 30s, right? So when I say centennials, they have those plus points. They also have that, the credibility or the thoughts which can change a lot of things. So it's purely the reverse mentoring or the reverse coaching that many organizations are actually working on to have, the connect, to have a good culture in terms of fresh thoughts, fresh ideas, and also the tested, tried ideas to experiment and see what works best for the organization. So that is one. There are also many situations where I will also like to mention that, we had our finance global head who retired at the age of 60, but then he was inducted as an external consultant, and he is still there because he knows the length and breadth of the organization. He served for almost 25 to 30 years, that company. Okay, and so we inducted him as an external consultant and expert. Okay, so if there is an opportunity, if there is that, you spoke about the employee life cycle. After separation, there is, of course, chances in different ways we can induct the seniors who have contributed immensely in the organization, who have got a very good track record. We can definitely bring them back. So that was one part. Now, another question, sub part of your question was, why employees are not encouraging the entrepreneurship. I was incubated. My company is 4.5 years young. And I was incubated in an organization where I worked as a HR head. It's Target. And we had footprints in USA, UK, Europe region, and also in India. And the organization the founder of the organization is, a eminent personality who worked with Azim Premji for 30 years as a group HR head. So he started his company, which is Target, and I was the HR head for his company. So he incubated the training. He incubated me to run and start a training vertical in his company. Likewise, he had incubated technology companies which had grown big after they separated out from the incubation duration. And they are big, actually, technology firms. So several such examples are there, where companies incubate and then they move out. I have another example to say, Intel. The spun-off of Intel is continuous computing. Today, it is called Radisys. Okay, so continuous computing, how it was formed? By this innovation projects, Kodathans. Okay, they allowed people to come up with their passion projects. And people came up with such projects that eventually generated huge business. sold product worldwide. And they came out, okay, so it came out, but it never competed with Intel. Intel has its own, image and brand and, product lines and all that. But Radisys is having its own image and brand and product line, and it's never in competition, right? So passion projects are such that ultimately will be approved, which are not competitive in nature. All right, so that is another example. Third, I would like to bring in is, I think I'm taking too much time for your question. I'm not giving chance for others to ask, but anyways, I'll close with this example that there's something called intrapreneurship. And it's a term which is not coined today. Okay, it's a term which is there even 10 years back. Like the way COVID has accelerated the digitalization and digitization journey, likewise, we need that drive, that push to make that entrepreneurship go far and wide and deep. Digitalization, now everybody has experienced. It has accelerated during the last 2 years. So I was listening to the Niti Aayog chief, Abhishek, Mr. Abhishek, just yesterday. And he was in a Beer Biceps talk show. Ranveer show, Beer Biceps, very popular show. And he came on that show and he was mentioning about this only, that we have the vision of, enlarging the entrepreneurship concepts multifold within India. So India will see within 2025, we will have a new India with a lot of India make products, with a lot of innovators, with a lot of new products which will globally compete like any other day, right? So he was mentioning about that. So entrepreneurship is a term which is there. It's just that it needs to be practiced within the organization. And many organizations are actually, when they do the job descriptions or when they actually write the KPIs and the KRAs, they're actually bringing in those qualities that entrepreneurship needs. Entrepreneurship needs dedication, focus, self-drive, self-motivation. These are just a few, right? Imaginative quality, thinking power, critical thinking skills. So they're bringing in those as part of the KRAs, KPIs, as well as the job descriptions. This is how they are kind of integrating it. So I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, ma'am. Very patient with you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
Participants, you may please unmute and ask your questions, please.
I think it's lunchtime, so everybody is on the mood to have lunch. I hope it was a learning session.
Sure. It was indeed.
Thank you.
Ramesh.
Just one question. I don't know if my voice is clear. I'm remote. Is it possible to selectively reward high-performing employees in a smaller organization?
Absolutely, it is possible. We must have a reward.
Right.
Sorry?
Is it possible to selectively reward and recognize selective employees in a smaller organization?
Yes. So we have to have a plan before that. Why? How? We must openly declare these are the reward policies so that people work towards it. All right. And then you find out through the process of review who are the best performers who have contributed for that journey. And then you reward selectively the best performers. Because ad hoc, it might look as biased approach. So we must have a process that, we have this policy in place, people know about it, they know about the criteria, and people work towards it. And if knowingly, unknowingly, you have seen that there are certain star performers, okay, and you identify them through the process of review, it becomes very transparent. It becomes very transparent to everybody. It doesn't look at as a biased approach then. Okay. So transparency is very important in rewards and recognition. That will bring in more trust. So communication is important. Roll it out, let people work towards it, have a criteria in place, let people understand why they have got rewarded, and you will see more opportunities, people finding more opportunities to do well. So it is definitely possible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes.
This is Arvind. I have one question.
Yes, Arvind.
Basically, when we try to look into the talents of the core team members, how do we emphasize or incorporate the culture of accountability and responsibility on them? Because that's something which they know that they are the skillful persons, they are the core team members, but sometimes we see that things don't get up because they don't take the accountability and responsibility. So how do we try to educate them or make them understand that's important?
Absolutely. So there are different interventions. One popular model which comes to my mind is a RACI, R-A-C-I. So if we practice giving certain projects, so it's like, role playing. So when we do role playing with a RACI intervention, R-A-C-I, you might want to, Google up and see what it says or what each of these terms R-A-C-I means. It's all about accountability building. It's a very good exercise. It's like programming the mind through this exercise to, take up responsibility to become more accountable. So if we directly put them into a project and tell them to be accountable, they won't be. So multiple projects as examples and role plays, if you do, and actually follow this RACI model, this will bring them up to that level where they understand what accountability is and how important it is for the organization. Right? So this is one suggestion I might want to give. Yeah, absolutely, it works. RACI is a very powerful tool.
Okay. The second one which I would like to ask is like, how do we identify the SWOT analysis of an employee? Sometimes actually the perception of the employee, he tries to give more positiveness about he tries to hide his weakness. The other side around, as an employer, we are finding it difficult to find his strength and his weakness to deploy him at the right place. So how do we bridge this gap?
So I would mention a couple of tools. One is the strength scope, Gollups it is. So we can roll it down for every employee, and it will populate it works actually on 30 plus themes. Okay, and it will actually highlight top 5 areas of development and top 5 positives or positive qualities each employee is having. So we can have that as one of the tools being implemented, and that will give you a report which you can build on. That is one. Second is, you can have one more tool which is called the Johari window. Johari window, it talks about the open spots, the blind spots, the hidden spots, and all of that. What it means is, if you get deeper into that, they know about themselves. So we know what our strengths and our weaknesses are. It would be others who would be telling. Okay. So there are different levels of sources that the employee will get the information about himself. That makes him realize what he needs to develop on, plus his strong areas or plus points, right? So Johari window is one tool and StrengthScape is another tool. I think if we have this, and of course, as we discuss one-on-one, we also get to know each other's plus points and areas of development. The peace of mind that they share, that also becomes another source of information. You can also collect information as a 360. There is another tool, but it needs to be applied not for everybody, on case-to-case basis again. If there are particular issues, that you want to address. So there are different sources that you can use to collect information to top your observation points. Sometimes we also make mistakes. To top and support your observations, you can have all these all-rounded approaches to get employees' strengths and areas of improvement to develop the SWOT.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam, this is Venkat. I want to
Yes.
ask you about the constructive criticism during review creates a what you call the gap between our what you call a flaw in a friendship. So how to bridge this? Because we have to give a constructive criticism to do a good mentorship, and then only we can be a good leader. Then, like when in pursuit of giving a good suggestion or a mid-course trajectory correction, we are finding a flaw in our relationship.
Okay, so it's very clear that a good friend is not always there in good times. A good friend always is there in the bad times also, in tough times also. So, as part of a company protocol, see, when a formal review is happening, right? You are bound with certain job responsibilities that the employee understands. And the employee is also bound with certain deliverables that he also understands, because it's a formal setup. Having said that, how as a manager, as I mentioned, it's not always what's. It's also how you could not achieve it. Now, when you are able to share the positives first, when a constructive feedback is happening, so you start with the positives. You have done a wonder job, and this is something that the company will remember for ages, or we will remember for years together. This is a very significant contribution. So you build that momentum and you share the actual true story of his achievements. And then you slowly transition that, everything cannot be good, as we all know, in our professional lives, in our personal lives. So here is a small piece of information which I would like to share, and we will jointly work. So you are owning also something which did not go well. You are not blaming the employee. You are also owning something which did not go well. So you are a partner in crime as well. Something which did not go well, right? So here is what I have a suggestion for you. So you have to mold the communication in such a way so that it doesn't look that you are blaming him and he is only responsible. You are sharing that responsibility and chalking out a roadmap of how effectively we can jointly overcome this. So the friendship will multiply tenfold rather than it comes as a hindrance.
Oh, good, ma'am. And even a hierarchically structured organization, so when you see a leadership scarcity, when you take a leadership role and then do it, that is also creating, because when you start owning it, and then there will be a leader born in you, and automatically you will take over the leadership inadequacy, and then you will try to bridge those leadership problems. Then automatically again, I have found, okay, hierarchically structured organization cannot accommodate such kind of problems. Like that's another question.
Sorry, I didn't get you. If you just make it short, the question.
When a hierarchically structured organization sees newborn leaders like millennials, you talk about millennials who is open to communication, the system allows him to talk, and then he is taking a leadership, but a senior most person will not allow or accommodate such a leader.
Okay, so that's where the reverse mentoring culture has to be a top-down approach. Every organization, they must, so many progressive organizations, they have already adopted this reverse mentoring, reverse coaching, where it breaks the ice. This is all about breaking the ice. It's all about the ego. So breaking the ice and allowing somebody who is also a less experienced, but having positives also, which I can imbibe as an experienced guy. Okay, so it's a top-down culture. So, devising the policy at the top management, MD level, CEO level, and then marketing that, how it needs to be done. First, formally practicing it within the top management level. Those becomes examples for others to follow it as a initial copy and paste, and then tweaking as and when required. So that approach has to happen. Otherwise, this breaking the ice will be very difficult. If we randomly just try to have somebody who is just, 20 years of experience, 20 years of age, with somebody who is highly experienced, that ice will never break. It should not be random. It should not be ad hoc. It should be implemented at every level. People see the beauty of it. They gradually break the ice, and then it will be easier. So a plan has to be in place.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dutta.
Thank you.
One last question. Anybody else? Anyone else has a question? You may please unmute and ask.
Madam, this generally I want to how to overcome this conflicts between the cross-functional and core members like this.
Well, so conflicts, politics, this is part and parcel of life. Everywhere, whether it's, within the family or outside the family, right? So it is there. Now, identifying it early on is very important. It should not be slept upon. Let it just, by itself go. It will not. It might take a different course. Okay, so understanding the conflict between which people, why, and how often will actually give you certain data points for you to either coach, counsel, have a EAP in place, employee assistance program, depending on the situation, all right? Or having certain HR interventions or manager discussions, right, to overcome this conflict. Conflict will be there, politics will be there. It's just that addressing it early on, identifying the pattern, and then having a coaching intervention. That will actually help. Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you very much, Arpita. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.